everybody. This is Voice of Liberty International Media TV, and I am your presenter today, Ndidi Uwechwe. I'll just give you a little bit about myself before I tell you what the subject is about. I am a retired Metropolitan Police Officer, and that's London police officer, and I have a medical science background. After I retired, I made a decision to come to Nigeria. But before I did come here, I started a farm in Delta State, which is in the Lower Niger Bloc. But I'm a failed farmer because the Fulani herdsmen destroyed my farm and all the investments. But that is my background. And before coming here, I knew, like everybody else, that Nigeria has some severe problems. So I wanted to use my background in science as a police officer mainly to see how I can help, improve Nigeria. As I was searching, I came upon the Lower Niger Congress, and that's why I'm here. Now, VOLI is Voice of Liberty International Media. It's a group of volunteers, and it's a new media outfit. And it was set up by people from the Lower Niger Bloc who are concerned about what is going on in our bloc, plus in Nigeria. And they saw that one of the biggest problems of our people is that we don't have information and we don't have true information. So Voice of Liberty International Media is here to provide true information through the TV and also through their Facebook page. VOLI Media is the information center and voice for all the ethnic nations of the Lower Niger Bloc. The reason why VOLI is needed is true information is safety. When you have true information, you are safe from the dangers in the environment, whether current dangers or any future dangers. True information is power. We've always heard, people say knowledge is power, and it is correct. Because when you know what's going on, you're able to make the correct decisions that will benefit you and benefit your community. True information is also progress. Let's say you want to invent something, you're some kind of engineer. You need to have the right science, that's information, in order for your invention to happen and in order for your invention to be successful. So we can see that information is key. And if you look at the Lower Niger Bloc, today you hear about one thing happening over there. You hear about somebody setting up a kingdom here. You hear about somebody abroad setting up another kingdom, somebody here. All sorts of things are going on. So we want to be able to have true information to cut out the chaos and the confusion. Now, some of you may have heard the term Lower Niger or Lower Niger Bloc. Lower Niger Bloc is the South-South and the Southeast together. So South-South and Southeast together, all the ethnic nations of the South-South and Southeast together. People have done some research. That would be historians and people who do anthropology and cultural studies. And not just Nigerians, but people from abroad, like Europeans. When the Europeans first came to Africa, they were exploring Africa to see the different things that were happening and to find out what was going on in Africa. So research and our history tells us that the ethnic nations of the South-South and Southeast, which is the Lower Niger Bloc, are compatible. That means that they get on well. It's only people who are compatible who make a happy marriage. It's only people who are compatible who make good friendships. So being compatible is key. It means that you share similar values, similar interests. So people of the South, South, and Southeast, the different ethnic nations, they share much in terms of culture, trade, experience. Our forefathers would have been able to travel, throughout that region in a relatively easy manner, either along the river or, walking from place to place. They could even have been using horses. I say that because I've seen a sculpture from Iwoku, and it's a man riding on a horse. So I know that our forefathers would have been using horses at some point. So with the horse, you can travel quite a bit of a distance, and our people would have been able to trade and relate through, ambassadors and envoys that the kings would have sent. And through marriage, it means that we share genetic material. I'll tell you a little bit about me again. As I said, I'm from the Lower Niger Bloc. I'm from a town, but I call it a village, but it's a town called Ogwashuku, and it's in the area of Enwane. It's once you're on the Benin-Asaba Expressway, it'll take only about 15 minutes or less to get to Asaba from my town or village of Ogwashuku. Now, the original settlers of Ogwashuku were from Edo. They were Edo people, and we know them. We give them some kind of honor in our village. They're called the Ikelike. I don't know exactly when they arrived, but they were people who were very short of stature. So they were like dwarfs, and they were being attacked and kidnapped, and they were being harassed. That's why they left Edo and they looked for safety, and they came to what is now known as Ogwashe. I'm also told that they were living underground. So it looks like they built some kind of dwellings that were underground because they didn't want people to find them and kidnap them. One day, a certain prince or a nobleman, an Igbo man from Nri, came by, and he came upon some of them, and he didn't kidnap them. He was not rude to them. He showed them respect, and he helped them with some kind of problem that they had. So they took it as a happy and a good omen, and they were able to take him to their, to the rest of their village, and everybody was happy with this Igbo nobleman. And they realized that he's tall and big, that if he would be their king, he would protect them, and then they would go on to live. So they asked him to be their king. He accepted. And that's where the Igbo blood and the Igbo culture now mixed with the Edo culture to make Ogwashuku, which is mainly an Igbo town, but we do have some Edo culture. As time goes on and our historians dig up more information, we'll know more about that. But it's not just Owashi that has Edo culture. Iseluku has also got Edo culture. I was sent a video by the monarch of Iseluku, and he mentioned it. So I'm saying all this for us to know that the people of the Lower Niger Bloc, we share culture and we share history, and we are compatible. What has happened, though, is that the very few voices that seek to disunite us, because that principle of divide and conquer is alive and kicking in Nigeria. These voices that want us to be disunited, they are the loudest. And because they are the loudest, we think that there are more of them, but they're not more in number. Most of us, those of us who think and those of us who read, we can see that the people of the South, South, and Southeast, we get on. And another thing that unites us is that the Lower Niger Bloc is known as the Christian bloc of Nigeria. South, South, and Southeast people, we have a common religion, and it's Christianity. And that is another thing that unites us, because your religion is your culture. It's another form of your culture. So it gives us the same values under Christ. And we are brothers and sisters under Christ because we have the same Heavenly Father. So you can see that South, South, and Southeast people, as the Lower Niger Bloc, there's so much more that unites us than that divides us. And we need to listen to the voice of reason, and we need to listen to the voice of knowledge and the voice of intelligence and do our own research. And we will see that we do have this shared culture, even though we are different ethnic nations. You've got the Ijaw nation, you've got the Edo nation, the Ishan nation, Ibibio nation, I'm learning, Anang nation, Ogoni nation, Ogoja nation. So we are different nations, yet we share common history, common culture, and most importantly, a common religion that gives us very common values. Now, VOLI Media espouses all this, that, you know, there's so much more that unites us and that we are compatible. And so VOLI Media comes from that environment and that thinking that Lower Niger Bloc is a compatible bloc. Even though we have ethnic nations, different ethnic nations, those ethnic nations are equal partners and of equal importance. I will expand a bit about that. We've all been harmed by Nigeria. And when I say we, I mean we as individuals, even me. I've been in Nigeria now for 5 years, and I have been stung by Nigeria, you know, the Fulani herdsmen that destroyed my farm, plus the way that nothing works, the high corruption, all these things, the environment. So we've all been stung by Nigeria in all sorts of ways. And one of the ways we've been stung by Nigeria is that our bloc has been marginalized more than any of the other blocs, because it's in our bloc that the oil and gas and the riches of Nigeria has come from. So those who wanted to exploit us have come to our region and have done the most harm to our people. So even I've heard for people from our blocks, they'll use the words like minorities, you know, of the Lower Niger, things like that. Well, in the Lower Niger Bloc that we are thinking about and that VOLI is promoting, we are all equal partners. There's no such thing as a minority, because nationhood and citizenship is not based on numbers. It is based on the fact that you are a nation with a unique identity of your nation. So Ijaw are a nation with their own unique identity. Ishan are a nation with their own unique identity. Edo are a nation with their own unique identity. And we come as equal partners. Because I have a British background, I sort of understand that well, and I will try and convey it. We call it the United Kingdom because it is United Kingdoms. There are 4 kingdoms. You've got the Kingdom of England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So those are the 4 kingdoms. And when you're in the United Kingdom, if we take Wales, Wales is really a principality, but we'll just use the word kingdom. You'll never hear anybody say that the Welsh are a minority, you see, because they are indigenous and they come as the Welsh people. So they're not a minority. So that would be the same for the Lower Niger Bloc. So even if you're Ogoni, and the Ogoni are just a few million, possibly 3 or 4 million, even if up to that, they are not minorities. They have equal value, equal importance as, let's say, the Igbo nation that is, let's say, 40 million. So it would be more like what I described in the United Kingdom, where the Scottish, the Northern Irish, the English, and the Welsh are all equal partners in that union. So this is where we're coming from. And this is what I hope the listeners will hold on to, because we want to live in the reality of who we are and what we are. Nigeria has damaged all of us, and made some of us feel, that we're minorities. You cannot be a minority when you are in your ancestral land. You cannot be. You are an equal person. So I want us to get that clear. Now, you may wonder why the name Lower Niger. Some people say lower, no, lower, we don't like it. We like higher, we like big, things like that. Well, a child would be concerned about the word lower. Some of us who are adults, lower is just a word. You've got upper Volta, lower Volta. It's just a word. But why the name Lower Niger? It's because when you're seeking self-determination and you are honest about it, you're not a fake freedom group, but an honest one. You need to satisfy the United Nations requirements of an acceptable name and an acceptable map. So you need to have boundaries for all the ethnic nations. So the group who were looking to get self-determination for all the ethnic nations within our South and Southeast Bloc, they had to do their research and they had to come up with a name that the United Nations would not reject. In doing their research, they came upon a map of 1885. And in that map, it was the Europeans who drew it. And the Europeans themselves recognized that the area now today known as South, South, and Southeast were linked. They called it ethno-linguistic map. Ethno, you can see the word ethnic, so it's to do with, let's say, tribal. Linguistic is to do with language. So the European explorers at the time, they recognized that the South, South, and Southeast people had links, ethnic and language links. And they drew a map of 1885, and that region, they called it Lower Niger. So that's where the term comes from. And those of you who know even more history will know that 1885 is the year that we had the Berlin Conference. The Berlin Conference is when some European powers at the time, they came together in Berlin and they had a conference. They said, oh, we don't want to go to war to divide Africa and to make new countries for ourselves. We can discuss at a round table and make new countries for ourselves in Africa without going to war. So that was the Berlin Conference. Some Black people are still annoyed about the Berlin Conference, and they're saying, it's the white people who separated the different groups. That, you've got ethnic nations on one side of the boundary from another country, and they're blaming white people. Now, I'll tell you a fact and a truth because we're here to get true information. Yes, the white people did divide up Africa in 1885. But if we want to get angry with anybody today for the boundaries of Africa, we need to get angry with the African Union, because the African Union decided to have a policy, and it's called the policy of the inviolability. Inviolability is a big word. Inviolability of inherited boundaries, or actually the principle of inviolability of inherited colonial boundaries. It's the African Union that said that the boundaries that the European colonialists put in Africa must remain. So we can no longer blame the Europeans of 1885. We need to now blame ourselves, or at least the African Union, because they didn't have to do that. And they can still change that principle if we apply pressure. So that's just a by the by. So this is where the term Lower Niger comes from. It's from the 1885 map, and it's to satisfy United Nations requirements for those seeking self-determination. And we need to get it straight that the term Lower Niger is, not only is it an administrative name, it is a temporary name. So we're using it for now until we get what we want. At the appropriate time, the ethnic nations within that bloc will decide by voting and democratic processes what name we want. So we shouldn't get, all annoyed and scream and shout like children over the term Lower Niger. It's to satisfy United Nations requirements, and it's a temporary name, and it is an administrative name only. Okay, so that's Lower Niger. And the group of people who decided to help us by going to the United Nations and to seek self-determination for each of our ethnic nations, they decided to call themselves by that same name. So that's why they call themselves the Lower Niger Congress. Now, the Lower Niger Congress, and for short LNC, is the self-determination organization that has been doing all the work on our behalf for the past 21 years. What was to be called the LNC, Lower Niger Congress, started their work soon after the 1999 Constitution was imposed on Nigerians. So that's when they started the work of self-determination, because that Constitution is what hijacked our self-determination. So that Constitution has been the target, and that's what we need to look at if we want to have self-determination, and if we're serious about wanting self-determination, and we're not a fake freedom group, but we really are there to seek self-determination, we must put our eyes on that 1999 Constitution. Now, Lower Niger Congress, and I'll now call them LNC, has been transparent, and they publish what they do on their Facebook page and on their website. Plus, when they have interviews, the interview will go on YouTube and Vivo and such things. So they are on the web, because one of the conditions of the United Nations when you're seeking self-determination is the people have to be carried along. So the people need to know what you're doing. So, you have to let them know. And we are in the 21st century. Our forefathers in those days, it was a town hall, but today it's the 21st century, it's modern days, and people put the information they have on the internet. Then if somebody from the Lower Niger Bloc is in Japan, in China, in Malaysia, in Dubai, in Canada, they can get the information. All they need to do is to log on to the website and get it. So LNC has used the modern technology, and they have always put their information on their websites. If you look on their website, you'll see that LNC in the past 21 years has been doing a lot of work. And what is very good news for anybody who is seeking self-determination, and you should be, jubilating about it and be so happy, is that we are nearing the end. We are nearing the very end of the journey of getting self-determination. They broke it up into 16 stages. We are at stage 14. So somebody has been working for you for 13 stages. They didn't bother you for anything. And we're now at stage 14. And there are only 16 stages. So isn't that good news? And what else we need to know, because this VOLI Media is here to tell you the truth. When you are seeking self-determination, you do not need to die. You do not need to kill anybody. This is the 21st century, and I have to keep on saying that because some people want to put us back into feudal system and into the savage times when people used to go to war. Today, things are different. In the past, whether you were African or Chinese or European, if you wanted something, you went to war, boom, 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 everybody killing, dying, killing, dying. Now, when World War II ended, the Europeans said that they've had enough of war. So it was after World War II that they devised a group, and they called it the League of Nations. And it was only European nations at the time. But then other countries from Asia, Africa wanted to join it, and it became the United Nations. So the United Nations is an organization that uses international law and common policies to sort out the problems that nations have, because we want to live in peace, and the problems of any nation can be sorted out in peace. So getting self-determination today is through using international laws, international policies, and international relations. It is nothing to do with war. What you will find, and it's important for people from the Lower Niger Bloc, is that because our bloc has been the most marginalized, the most badly treated, we've had freedom fighters for a very long time, different freedom fighters. And some of them may be honest and, really seeking to, to bring freedom to us, but they may not know the way. Others are completely fake from the very beginning. So, and you can tell those that are completely fake. They are the ones who are going to tell you to kill here, kill, kill. You have to die, kill. Those are the words you're going to hear from the fake freedom groups. And their leaders also tend to be abroad. So when they're talking about killing and dying, they mean you to kill and die, not them. They and their children are safe abroad. So please, 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 if you take nothing else from today's show, know that you do not need to die to get self-determination. LNC, Lower Niger Congress, is using international law and United Nations instruments to get us self-determination, and they have been working successfully for 21 years. They've done 13 stages, because we're at stage 14, successfully. So of course, they're going to do the next few stages successfully, okay? Now, the president of the LNC is Mr. Fred Aweyewe. I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly. He's an Ishakiri man. He's an elderly man now, and he's a lawyer. The Secretary General of the LNC is a younger man. He is Tony Nnadi. He's an Igbo man. He's also a lawyer, and he has expertise in jurisprudence. Jurisprudence is the science of law. So it's deep, deep law, and he's an expert in that. So because of his special knowledge, it is most often Tony Nnadi who is invited to speak on TV, radio, and other places. And he's the one who goes to the United Nations and to go to foreign governments. It's not because he's the leader of the LNC, but he is the Secretary General. The leader, or the president, is Mr. Fred Aweyewe. I have heard here and there some people saying that, oh, Tony Nnadi's English, he is elitist, his English is too hard, his English is too high. Come now, my people. Come now, my people. What is wrong with a Black man speaking good English? What is wrong with that? I want excellence. I want to speak the best English. I want to speak the best Igbo. I want to speak the best Yoruba. I want to speak the best Japanese. Is it wrong for a Black man to want to speak good English? Is that wrong? Must we as Black people always be inferior, not have excellence? So we need to be careful what we're saying. Tony Nnadi is the one going to the United Nations. He cannot be seen as a mumu. When he goes to the United Nations, he needs to go there, and when he speaks, people need to, oh, this is an intelligent man speaking, and they listen to him. He needs to command respect, and he will do that if he speaks very good English. Tony Nnadi is the right person to help us. He is helping us to get self-determination. He's done all the paperwork. I never helped him with anything. Did you help him? So he's done all this paperwork on our behalf. He's not getting the self-determination for himself. LNC are not getting self-determination for LNC. LNC are getting self-determination for each and every ethnic nation within the Lower Niger Bloc. We need to get that straight. And, as adults, that is simple information, and we really need to understand that. So LNC are getting self-determination for the Edo when the Edo are in ancestral land, Ijo in Ijo ancestral land, Ogoja in Ogoja ancestral land. And we need to commend them. And I'm very grateful that Tony Nnady's language is such an excellently high standard. Now, as I said, LNC have been doing the paperwork for the past 21 years. And I said that we are nearing the end. We are nearing the end. We are at stage 14 out of 16. And that's where something called NINAS, NINAS, comes in. NINAS. NINAS is not an organization, it's a movement. It is not an organization, it is a movement, okay? And NINAS stands for Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination. All you need to take from there is that NINAS is a movement. It is a movement of people. So it's an action. NINAS is about action. It's a call to action. And it's about the people. You know, the Ogoni people, Ogoja people, Igbo people, Anang people. It is a movement. And we are going to have to get involved in getting self-determination. We can't sit down, you know, food is ready type of people, waiting for somebody to cook the food and all we do is eat it. No, 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 no. For self-determination, the United Nations needs to see that the people get involved. So NINAS is an alliance. So who are we in alliance with? We are in alliance with the Oduduwa, the Yoruba bloc, and we are also in alliance with the Middle Belt bloc. So NINAS covers the Yoruba bloc, Oduduwa, the Lower Niger bloc, that's us, and the Middle Belt bloc. You'll hear every so often of Ilana Omo Odua or Professor Banji Akintoye. He's an elderly gentleman, lovely man. That they are NINAS. In fact, Professor Banji Akintoye, he is the chairman of the NINAS movement. NINAS is a movement, and a movement must have a destination. You know, when you're going somewhere, you'd like to know where you're going to, don't you? So what is the destination for us in the Lower Niger Bloc? Well, our destination is clear. Our destination is the Lower Niger Federation. Again, remember what I said, Lower Niger is only a temporary name. So at the appropriate time, the ethnic nations will decide, but it is a federation. And that the federation means that the Ijaw in Ijaw land will have resource control, they will have self-determination, and they will keep their unique identity. The same for the Edo people. They'll keep their unique identity, they will have self-determination and resource control in their own land. So this is where we're heading. Is Lower Niger Federation is our destination, and that's when we will have full self-determination. Now, the other blocks that I mentioned in the alliance they also have their own destinations. The Yoruba destination is a Yoruba nation. You hear it every so often, or they call it Oduduwa nation. And the Middle Belts are also heading to their own Middle Belt Federation. For now, the Lower Niger Federation is a proposed federation. Each nation comes in its own official name. So we need to get that straight. You know, we're not children. We all know our name. I know my name. My name is Ndidi. Yes, everybody should know their name. Ijaw know their name. They are Ijaw. Igbo should also know their names. They are Igbo. So the United Nations is a serious organization, and you come in your official name. Each ethnic nation keeps its unique identity. Each ethnic nation has self-determination in its ancestral land. Each ethnic nation has resource control. So that means that nobody can dominate the other. Nobody can seize the resources of another. What is happening is that the enemies of our bloc will start saying things like, oh, Ndi will want to dominate. Ndi will want to take this. Ndi will want to do that. Ijaw want to do this. Edo want to do that. You know, we can create constitutions to make sure that nobody dominates another. Europe has managed to do it. Look at Europe. They're living more or less in peace. Okay, Belarus is having some issues right now. But on the whole, Europe is living in peace. And we also can do that, especially since we say that we are Christians and that we all have the same Heavenly Father. So there are experts among us who know how to create the right legal instruments for us to live together in harmony without anybody dominating another. Now, the proposed Lower Niger Federation, it's going to be multi-ethnic. The Yoruba nation is mostly Yoruba, so that's mono-ethnic. That's one ethnicity, like Japan. Japan is a great country and it's mono-ethnic. But we will be multi-ethnic. We're going to have Ijo, Edo, Igbo, Ogoni, Anang, Ibibio. I can say a few more, yeah? And so we are going to be more like the United States. It's multi-ethnic. In the United States, if we just look at the white people there, you've got German Americans, Italian Americans, Scottish Americans, Irish Americans, Greek Americans. Can you see? Multi-ethnic. And then America on top is also multiracial because you've got Black people in America, you've got Chinese people, and you've got Indian people and Arabs and everything else. Ours is that we'll be mostly Black people. And, so we are multi-ethnic and it can work. And at the appropriate time, we will decide whether we want it to be a federation or a confederation. The way all this comes together is we need to prepare something called a Charter of Relationships. It is a document that the Ijo, Edo, Igbo, Ibibio, Anang, Efik, all of us will get involved in, and we will decide what kind of relationship, if any, that we want between ourselves. When the Charter of Relationships is done, then the Constitution will be based on that. Okay, so nobody is going to impose anything on anybody. The ethnic nations will each decide for themselves what they want. And we will decide that in a democratic way, and that would be by regional referendums. And we will say more on that in subsequent shows. So for now, our take-home points are these. You do not need to die or go to war to get self-determination. Anybody who is telling you that is lying to you, okay? That person is lying to you. Today, we get self-determination by using legal processes. Lower Niger Congress is the self-determination organization that has started the process and started it 21 years ago. We don't need to keep on reinventing the wheel. So, I should not today, oh, I want self-determination. I'm going to go to the UN and go and see how to get it. Lower Niger Congress has already done it and has already gotten it. And I can tell you this for free. If, let's say, I decide to go to the UN and I say, okay, I want to get self-determination. When I get there, first of all, they're going to do a police check on me. Then they're going to find out what organization do I represent. If I represent a private company, limited company, then it's unlikely they're going to want to see me. I need to be registered like an NGO, and I need to have the right qualifications, because they don't want time wasters. So let's just say I do manage to get to the United Nations, and I'll go to the right office and all. And I'll say, oh, I want self-determination, blah, blah, blah. They have a computer. They're going to check in their computer. And then they say, oh, no need. Oh, indeed, no need. Lower Niger Congress has already started it. They've already started the process. They started the process 21 years ago. The details we have here is that their offices are here, 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 that the person you need to contact is so, 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 so. So this is how the United Nations will do it. They're not going to, today Peter goes and then they tell Peter, okay, you start a process, then tomorrow John goes and then he starts the process. No, 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 no. They'll look on their system And then they'll see that Lower Niger Congress has already started the process, and they will refer you to Lower Niger Congress. Okay? So you don't need to go to war, you don't need to kill anybody, and you don't need to get killed in order to get self-determination. When I first started, didn't I also talk about the Berlin Conference? The white people were in Europe, they didn't want to go to war over getting countries in Africa. They sat around a table, listen, they sat around a table and they used the laws of the day and created new laws to get themselves new countries. We can do the same. That was in 1885. We're in 2021. We should be able to get new countries sitting down, negotiating round a table. And that's what the Lower Niger Congress is organizing for us. And as I said, nobody's going to dominate, nobody's going to impose anything on anybody. We will look at it and we will, determine things like adults with information, true and correct information, and determine things like adults. So today we follow systems and processes based on international law and international relations, etc. Another take-home point is the ethnic nations of the Lower Niger Bloc are all compatible, and we understand each other well, and we have a close and shared history. As I said, I am a Nyoma Igbo from Nwane. I'm Igbo, yes, but I have Edo heritage as well, okay? So it's the truth, it is there, and I am proud of both. And I want to learn more about my Edo heritage. I know that other parts, if let's say of Igbo land, I hear that some people from Enugu, they have a shared history and shared genes with the Igala people, you see? So, okay, Igala would be in the middle belt, but just to show that we do share histories. We're not isolated. Our forefathers mixed and shared histories. Another take-home point is that the term Lower Niger is used to satisfy United Nations requirements, and it is only temporary. It will be changed democratically at the appropriate time. Another thing to take home is each nation comes in its real and official name. So you will not hear the Lower Niger Congress talking about Biafra because, there's no such Biafrans. You're either Ijaw or you're Anang or you're Igbo, okay? So we use the correct terms for your adults. We come in our official name, and each nation keeps its unique identity. We want to see the Ijaw nation there, the Edo nation there inside the Federation, the Ibibio nation there inside the Federation, okay? Nobody is going to dominate, nobody is going to swallow another one. That is what Nigeria represented. We want nothing to do with Nigeria. We want the new place that we are going to, our new destination, will be nothing at all like Nigeria. So anything that we have taken from Nigeria, we will reject it, and we will create something beautiful and something that works and something that we will all be happy with. Now, LNC, Lower Niger Congress, is our self-determination organization and is recognized by the United Nations and is the one working for us with the United Nations. They've got a website. We can put the link on our Facebook site, and they've got a Facebook page, but you can Google it as well and you'll find it. And you go there and you go and you inform yourself, and all the information is out there. Remember what I said that at the start, that information is what will lead to our progress and our safety. Now, another take-home point is that NINAS is a movement. It is not an organization, it is a movement. So you can belong to an organization. You might even belong to certain freedom organization. You don't need to leave it. All you need to do is to be part of the NINAS movement, and whatever call to action that the NINAS has for us to do, we do it. Because what we want is self-determination, isn't it? We want to get out of, all this Fulani thing that's going on, the Fulani herdsmen destroying our farms. So we want to get away from all that. And we want self-determination so that we can decide who can be in our forest. We can decide who can be in our land, that people cannot come and invade, and we are powerless to stop it. As a police officer, British police officer, and I've lived in Britain all my life. I had my infancy in France, but I've been in Europe all my life. It is shocking that people can be on their farm and intruders, trespassers can come, destroy their farm, kill them, rape them, and they don't have the self-determination to protect themselves. So self-determination is what we are seeking, because as I say, the opposite of self-determination is slavery, and it needs to end. So we need to key into the Nines movement and get our self-determination as soon as possible, and not linger in this one Nigeria. And just to also remind us that VOLI Media is the information center for us. You want some information, especially about self-determination, come to VOLI. Come to VOLI. And it is also the voice of the ethnic nations of the Lower Niger Bloc. So it is where you can ask questions. We're planning over time, I can't say when, but we're planning over time that we will have a call-in session, okay? So I can't say when, but we're planning it, because we're all volunteers, so we do it as we can, but it is part of the plan. In the meantime, we have the Facebook page. You can write your comments and we can answer your questions in that way, and we will point you to the right direction. So I've talked about the VOLI Facebook page, and there is a Lower Niger Federation Facebook group. You can join the group, and the group is for only two things. It's for you to put your nation building ideas, and it is for you to visualize what the Lower Niger Federation will be like. So it's not a Facebook page where we're going to have all sorts of news about how bad Nigeria is, this bad news link, another bad news link. No, those posts will not be allowed in. It is to forget about Nigeria, take our minds and our hearts out of Nigeria and into a new country that works, a normal country, so that our children don't have to run off to Indonesia, run off to China, run off to Dubai in order to have a normal life. They can stay right in their ancestral land and have a normal life, or even a great life. So this Lower Niger Federation Facebook group you can join it. If you have any ideas, put it there. If you want the federation to be tech, or you want it to be, for tourism, whatever it might be. So we have that, as well as the VOLI Facebook page. So that is me done for today. The next show, if we go according to the order, is going to be how to tell the real from the fake and more. So listen out for the next show. It may be me presenting, it may be somebody else. Bye for now. Stay safe and don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.